started researching about the TTS program for what all I need for my CAPID application. And then I gave my INBD and TOEFL at around November 2023. And along with that, I also gained some hands-on experiences by working as a dental assistant and also doing certain volunteering about the non-dental related area. And then I got ready and applied to around 15 to 16 schools in 2024 cycle and received invites from 3 schools and eventually got accepted at NSU.
That was brief and very effective. So that is to sum up Vishwa's story. Vishwa, before so when are you beginning school? You said March, right? April.
April.
When
Yeah.
okay, all right. If we can talk, if you would pick up one thing out of your entire profile, right, and which you think really helped or impacted your application, even if it's something as regular as, let's say, shadowing, what would that be in your opinion from your profile?
I think a strong statement of purpose, like having a proper story, just putting it down like in a proper format, and just the connecting the story from the start. I think the statement of purpose will be the first thing that is the most important. And also for me, I think I had a strong GPA too. I had a 4.0 GPA, so that made me stand out from the other applicants. And yeah, so I think these two things for me was my benefit. Yeah.
For your benefit.
For
Got
my
it.
benefit, yeah.
We will slowly go into a few questions that have come to us and then, go with the flow.
Yeah.
Uh, the first question that we got, which is a little unusual, I would usually not, I would probably like keep it aside, but I'm also very intrigued as to why this person's asking it. So I'm just going to pass on the question to you, which is, how do you keep working hard? I feel that comes from a space of exhaustion. Maybe you're probably doing this multiple years. I don't know. Even though you've probably not been doing it for a while, Vishwa, like what would your answer be to that question?
um I feel for this application is really mentally tiring for everybody. I know that. And I just think that consistency is the key. I mean, you have to do something and something new every time, either by going to conferences, or if the profile is not stronger, maybe you can do preceptorship, or we can do, if your GPA is not stronger, you can go for a public health program, and just keep bettering yourself. And yeah, I think these are the things we have to do, something and something better in each cycle, so that they can see that we are consistently working hard, and we are keen for getting in application, I mean, for the cycle. So even if it's multiple attempts, they want to see that what new did you do in last year, what additional thing that you achieved in the past year, and as compared to the last cycle, as compared to your last cycle. So I think doing something new, like conferences,
Definitely.
maybe attending conferences, workshop, hands-on experience, get more hands-on experience, because they require, the more the US experience, the better.
Sure. Excuse me. There's a follow-up question here which we can take since you're talking about GPA. What range GPA is considered a good score?
um I think, if I'm not wrong, anything above 3.4 is considered competitive, right? 3.4 or 3.5.
Yes, but also to add on to that, it also depends a lot on your on where you come from. That has been something we've heard repeatedly in the fairs and all of the application admins and all of them, saying that depends on where you're coming from. If you're coming from India, since like Vishwa is from India, I think high, like she said, a 3.5 and above, or because a lot of people even have 4. So relatively is how they look at it. But yes, even if you do not have a competitive GPA, there's always an option for you to compensate and do something else. But it just becomes harder. It doesn't become impossible, but it becomes a little more difficult and challenging. Yes, I apologize for my sniffling nose. But Vishwa, there's another question about personal statement, and since you mentioned the statement, I'm going to ask about that. This question says, it's very simple. What do we highlight the most in the statement, or what is the most important thing to talk about? Is US experience important?
According to me, yes, I think the US experience is important. And regarding the statement of purpose, I attended the Caapid Simplified, the lecture that you guys had before jotting down my SOP, and you guys said that a story format, like start from where you are from, then eventually go why you were interested in dentistry for the first place, then what did you do in your school. I mean, in India, for me, what did I do in India to grab the opportunity, and why I chose USA. The main, I think, one paragraph should be focusing on why are you choosing USA as your further education, and why would you like to go in the DDS program of theirs. And at the end, I think it should connect all the things that you have written. The main thing, that it has to connect to the hook, the starting of the first paragraph, it has to connect. And yeah, so in a story format, just jot down whatever ideas, whatever experiences you have, and just mention some personal patient experiences too. I did that. I did mention two patient experiences, so that and it should be different from CV. They want to see what you did in CV, like what volunteering experiences you did. All of it would be written in the CV, but you have to have some personal touch in your statement of purpose. That will be the one that they will be looking for. That why, how are you as a person? When I read the statement of purpose, I should be aware that how are you as a person, and why are you aligned with our dental school.
Absolutely. um, Someone asks about research, and I think I feel like it's relevant to you because if I'm not wrong, I do not remember you having a research experience. I don't know if that has changed over the years, but is research important? And if not, like, do you have peers or class people in your class who do not have research and have research? How does that work?
I was a pretty recent graduate when I applied, so I only had one research experience, and it was not that relevant. I only did like a survey in our college that was also mandatory. So it was just a simple, and it was published in simple journal, not a big one. So in my case, I didn't do any that big, big impacted research, but many of the people do, just to add something in their CV. And I think they have like PubMed publication. I have seen some of my peers also that did some publications, and it was beneficial for them too. But I don't think it is mandatory. I think it adds to your
Yes,
resume, but
absolutely.
it is not
Yes.
mandatory. I don't think
I
so.
think I love that they've asked this question, especially when you're here, because this is not to say do not do research. Of course, if you can do it, then great, but it is not mandatory. And Vishwa is not the only one who has gotten into school without research. And actually, Dr. Nourah, co-founder, has also spoken about how when she was doing her DDS DMD, that time she was not very keen on research either. So when they would ask her in the interview, she would, openly, because they want you to be honest and truthful, say that that's not a part of dentistry that she is very keen on, which is why she's done other things. So that is okay because a lot of people, a lot of you all, when you call us, you all talk about how you are sort of grappling to get a research opportunity and do that amidst everything else. If it interests you, then great, go ahead. If not, like, it's okay. But at any point, if you feel like this will help you to amplify your profile, then go ahead. We have a few questions here, Vishwa. Dr. Yusuf asks for recommendations for TOEFL.
For me, I started with free YouTube videos for the TST prep, I think it was. And once I got to know what's the pattern, what's the exam pattern, I took the subscription of I think it was a test glider. And basically they just have free tests, and I did around 12 to 13 free tests from there, and also all the free tests that's available in the Magoosh and every other TOEFL app. I just did the free sections of that. For me, I only did this, but people generally take some subscriptions, as I said, for the TST prep too. I have heard some of my peers also took subscription for TST prep. So
How
for
much should
me,
you
it was
score?
TST.
Did
It was
you
106, 106.
great? So practice is what's
Practice,
important.
yes.
Yeah,
Do
I
more
mean, paid
tests.
or free, yeah, more tests,
Mhm.
depending on what you need. Great. I've written them down here, and thank you, MS. Meenakshi also added a blog that we recently wrote on TOEFL. And why is this helpful? Because Couple of dentists who have just written TOEFL and scored really well have contributed here. So it will be helpful for you all to come across any minor tips and tricks to help get to that score. Dr. Yusuf, we hope that helps. Dr. Prasad asks, can you explain the CAPID cycle a bit? Uh, and how can I apply for shadowing and volunteering in a dental clinic in the US? Okay, if you can tell us a little bit more, Prasad, on what you meant by that, because Caapid cycle is a little bit too vast to know what to talk about. But meanwhile, while you do that, Vishwa, you can talk about how did you apply for shadowing and volunteering in dental in the US? How was that process? Because a lot of people do struggle getting opportunities.
I started by just writing a CV. I mean, I went to the clinic, one clinic, and they asked for CVs. So that's where I knew that they will require CV, even if it's a basic one, even if whatever you did as a dentist in India or whatever you did in your dental school, it's okay. They just want to see that you are really interested in, shadowing them. So I just went for a few, like around 10 to 12 dental clinics in my area, and I didn't call or I didn't email them. I just directly went. And I think that makes a difference, because some of my friends called and just asked them that if they are interested in shadowing, and they never got them back. So I think when you go personally, it shows a little more effort. And I went there, I presented my CV to them, and one of the dental clinics called me, and they said that, you can come and shadow. So for shadowing and volunteering, slowly, once I was there for around like 2 months, she started to tell me that you can help me a little bit. So that's why we can also write as a volunteering experience too, because we help in a way.
No,
So I think that
absolutely. Walking in is amazing
walking
because you
in, yeah.
will, I mean, if five people are calling, they're obviously bound to forget that maybe they called and then get, lost in the mix. But when you walk in, you make an impression and then you show them your face. Very few clinics, I mean, the probability of clinics feeling like you're sort of like, I don't know, being intrusive is lesser than the ones who would actually be considerate about your presence there. And you were in which part of the US?
I was
Or
in
Canada?
Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta. Okay, all
Mm.
right, sounds good. And lot of connections on LinkedIn also works to whoever asked this question, Dr. Prasad, right? Because I mean, you have to try multiple channels to know where you'll, hit. It's not a one-stop like solution or one-off thing where you can apply the same logic to everyone. So you can try all of that and also find out from your locality what works. I think that's also important. I remember an applicant telling me once that she went for a cleaning or just oral checkup to all the clinics in a locality just to find out where they seem friendly and where she thinks that they might let her in. And funnily enough, she did get an opportunity in one of those clinics. So you try all that you can to sort of cross that stage. Dr. Navjot asks, does Canadian experience count, as the US? And the answer to that is yes, Navjot. Anything in the US is the best for them, but anything in Canada as well is interchangeably good, and then the other country. So that's the sort of hierarchy or priority, let's say. Tejaswini is asking about LORs. Can we get one Indian dental school principal, so which your home country dean basically, and the other two from US dentists, or should it be two from Indian or home country and one from US dentist? What did you do, Vishwa? How was it for you?
I researched all the colleges prior to when the Capit cycle opened, and I found out that most of the schools have this pattern: one from the dean, one from the professor from our home country that has seen us being a dentist, not public health or anything, that has seen our dental professor, and the third one is of our choice. Basically, they prefer more US dentist. So I this three was my pattern. And also, if you have additional LOR from the dentist that you work for in India, you can always email them, or you can always upload it in the supplemental section that is present in the CAPIT.
Yes,
So additional
that's
LORs can
correct.
be.
Yeah. Especially when you're applying to some 15 schools like Vishwa did. That's the best combination. This was Tejashwini. But however, if you have any exceptions are obviously allowed. So it depends on what your exception is, like what is the reason, and in communicating the reason to them. Like if they've asked you for a dean's letter and if you can't provide it, I think I personally feel like communicating it to them is important so that they don't think that you forgot the dean's letter. It's just that you can't get the dean's letter. Any advantage that you can get, you please use, and communicating is the only way that they will know what your reasoning is. So please do that. Do we tell our school how to write, or what to write in the LOR? This is a very tricky, not tricky, but I mean, regular question. Do you want to take that, Vishwa? Like, have you gone through that situation where you had to, or did they write the letters?
I think the dean's letter of recommendation will have like a proper pattern that they write. I think that one is the
Yes.
common one that the dean
Yep.
writes in every student. And for the professor, just take that professor who knows you personally, so that they remember.
100%.
Yeah, they remember.
Yes.
My dentist, my professor remembered me, so she wrote my letter of
That's
recommendation.
nice. Navjot, you have to, so a little bit of like reading your audience will help here, because I think it's very important to find out whether your recommender would write for you, or would want you to go and remind them about your time with them. So sort of understand your recommender and then work accordingly. If you feel like they might not remember you or what you've done, it's okay. It's probably appreciated as well by most if you send them a summary of what you did, or remind them, or ask them for a call and jog their memory. But obviously, it depends on person to person, because some of them might not be welcoming, as most recommenders are not. But that's where you'll have to find out what works for your recommender and then do accordingly. Dr. Anisha, you had raised your hands. You can unmute and ask Vishwa the question. Hi.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Dr. Vishwa. So,
Hi.
I noticed that you mentioned that about the volunteer work. So, you said that helping the doctor might be considered as a volunteer work. Could you please elaborate on that?
um uh, I think volunteering means any hands-on experience that you can get, like without getting paid. So she asked me to help after 2 months. So technically, I think it's called volunteering experience. I can write it down that I shadowed completely for 2 months, and after 2 months, I started helping her a little bit. So I think we can mention it as a volunteer experience too. But just do mention that you were shadowing priorly for around how many months, whatever months you did, and then you started
Hmm.
volunteering.
And what kind of visa requirement do you need for that kind of experience?
Um, for volunteering, I
Yeah.
don't think you need any. Of course,
No,
visitors
I
and
mean, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Please go ahead.
I think for just volunteering, I don't think there is any visa requirement. You are just helping the doctor. So I think, but you are not like properly, like doing work as an assistant.
Mm-hmm.
So there are certain I think requirements that you need to do before getting a job as a dental assistant. You have to complete the exit requirements. You have to do some courses before
Right.
you are actually helping. But just volunteering, you can always write like sterilization. You help in sterilization. You just help in handing of the instruments. That's it, but not properly helping the patient, because the dental school knows that if you are on student visa, you cannot work with the doctor by getting paid. So you can write as a volunteering experiences instead of writing as work experience.
So you were on a student visa before?
No, actually, I was born in the US, but I
Oh,
studied in India. So I was
all
born
right.
there. So I was able to work there as a dental assistant.
Right, right, right. That makes sense.
But many
Also,
of my friends on student visa, they wrote as a volunteering experience because they were helping the doctor too.
all right. Like some of us are on, like I'm here on a tourist visa, like a business visa. So I am here for my shadowing experience. So like the shadowing part explicitly mentions that you're not supposed to touch anything into the dental setting. Like you're not supposed to like help them in their procedure or like any sort of. So I wanted that confusion, like I had that thing in mind, like how is a person who's on a, like business visa supposed to be helping a bit. So yeah, I get it. Like you were born in the
I
US, so
think
yeah,
business
that
and
explains.
visitors. I think business and visitors both can write shadowing. And I
Mm-hmm.
think student visa and visas, I mean, citizen and green card can help the doctor, but I don't think they can work. Student visa,
Yeah,
I don't think they can work. They
yeah,
can
that makes
help in
sense.
sterilization and stuff, but once you write volunteering experience, mention it that you just help in sterilization and just
Right, right.
that's it.
So,
Yes, you should be writing observership or shadowing, like she said, because that's what you can
mhm.
do on the visa that you have, and you're not assisting, right? Like, so in some states, dental assisting is allowed.
Yeah, that.
Like you can do that without a license. So in that case, you can write. You're still volunteering. So volunteer dental assistant or observing dental assistant is something you can write if the state, agrees to you doing assisting without a license. But otherwise, it's pretty much. But even then, your duties will be limited because you're not on a visa which is residential in the US per se.
Yes,
But so
yes,
for
that.
you, observership or shadowing, and you can maybe elaborate in the bullet, like in the duties. Is there anything
Mhm.
minor that you? Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I have two more questions, if that's okay. So, did you volunteer anywhere else apart from the dental clinic that you've been shadowing at?
I did some non-dental volunteering experiences. So I think there is a website called volunteermatch.com where they let you help in any of your area. You just have to put your area where you live, and if there is any opening, any volunteering opportunity, they can let you help them. So I did the library one. I did the mobile food distribution there, and there was an organization for autism kid. I also volunteered there, and I also volunteered in the temple areas too, in our temple. So I think volunteeringmatch.com you can look for non-dental experience, non-dental volunteering experience.
So this is more like a follow-up question. Is there a specific requirement, like for what time frame you should, I mean, not should, but like considered to be a good volunteering time frame? For how long?
Uh, for me, I helped them for 2 months, and then the library one I helped them for 2 months, and then it stopped. And for autism, I had my name registered, so they knew that whatever the event comes, it was I think once a month or twice a month. So they usually called me. But I think the one that you are talking about, we have an experience section in the CAPID for the volunteering experience. So they ask us for the hours, so we can write specifically if we did 72 hours or 100 hours or whatever hours. So I don't think month or like the time frame is important. I think it's an hourly format.
All
So
right.
whatever, but wherever you volunteer, just ask them for just get them ready that you might need a letter of recommendation from them too. Just get one letter of recommendation of the non volunteering experience too, non dental volunteering experience too, from them.
Yeah, that makes sense. Also, this is the last question. So, you said that there's one letter, the third letter, that should be that can be of your choice and preferably from like a person in the US. So, considering the doctor that you're shadowing does not really know much about your clinical expertise. So, what could you please, elaborate on your own experience? Like, what exactly did they mention in your letter of recommendation? Like, what all things they did highlight, or, like you have an idea, like what could they have highlighted, which would have helped you in the application?
I think for just shadowing, they will just write that you asked some questions to them. You were very particular in your timing. I think these all the things that they can write in your statement of purpose, because I mean, sorry, letter of recommendation, because they don't know you personally. So I think just highlighting that you asked some questions, you were very engaging, you respected patients' autonomy, everything like that, they can write for shadowing and I think volunteering experience too. But once you are working with them, they can only write for your clinical experience once you work with them. So technically they cannot write your they cannot they cannot see your hand skill. So I don't think they can write in shadowing one. But if you have worked with them, you can include the clinical they can include the clinical experience. Rather than that, just they'll focus on the partial things, like as I said, engaging with the patient, respecting the patient's autonomy and stuff like that.
Yeah, thank you so
They'll,
much,
write
Dr.
more
Vish.
about your soft skills. And things, the skills where you are talking to people, engaging with them, etc. Yes.
Thank you, Dr. Vishwa. That really
Yeah.
cleared a lot of doubts. Yeah, thank you.
Navjot, you're asking for, you said any template. This is for letter, okay. For LOR that we can use and check before getting ones. I mean, there are some templates online, but ideally, and there's one that MS, if we can send that here, if you're available. There's a template that UCSF has on their website, which has been there for a while. That is like illustrated
LOR.
well to
Okay.
show LOR, yes, the UCSF one.
Yeah, I'll do that.
So that will give you some idea. Basically, what you have to include are like an introduction is obviously necessary. You should tell your recommender that they should put in an introduction where the capacity in which they know you and the relationship should be clearly mentioned. And then the conclusion should be their actual recommendation. They recommend you or not recommend you and how strongly. And in between is where they should talk about your skills or their observations. And it will always be wise to ask them to focus on at least three skills minimum, if not more. Honestly, better to keep it at a like smaller level, lower level. So imagine they choose three skills, talk about it in detail, and also add instances or examples, which is very important, which is what will set your letter apart. You can let the dean one go if it is too formal because they won't write more, but the other letters are extremely important. And you also try to make sure that in at least one of the letters your hand skills are talked about. In at least one of the letters your leadership maybe or your soft skills is spoken about. So have an overview as well from your end as much as you can. um, Dr. Jasmine asks, I have volunteered with Rotary Club couple of years ago. Is it okay to add that?
If I'm not wrong, Rotary Club means you help them raise money, I think, for helping the poor people or like sick people. Is that the one?
Jasmine, do you want to unmute and help Vishwa
Yeah,
with
it
that?
was basically that they used to organize a couple of like few camps every weekend at the orphanage or to raise funds or to donate clothes. Like they used to have camps, and it was,
Yeah,
I
you
think,
can
yeah,
mention it.
5 6 years ago.
Yeah, I think you can mention it. I think you can,
Because I
but
think Rotract is one of the biggest, like the organization. It's all over world,
yeah, you can mention it. I think, yeah.
so it doesn't
Yes.
matter if it's old.
Uh, I don't know. Maybe Miss Flynn, you can answer that. I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's okay if it's old, for sure. But I think a little bit of like comparison analysis in terms of do you have more experiences in community service is the question. If you have accumulated more in the last 5 6 years, then the relevancy of that Rotaract experience will decrease because you have more things now. So
Yeah.
then maybe you can skip that. But for the people who do not have much going on in the last 5 years, then whatever you have in the past also you can highlight. Sorry, you can highlight, and then you can also in your duties write about these things that you've done. The
Okay.
ones where you raised funds, you helped people. So talk about that so they know what exactly you were doing there.
Hmm.
Okay?
Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right. No problem. Dr. Prasad, you can unmute and speak. You have raised your hands, you see.
Yeah, hello everyone. Actually, do you have any idea about the news that few states in USA allow international dentists to work as a dental hygienist? Like, I'm just asking because being in the USA right now on a FN visa, can we work as a dental hygienist rather than shadowing or volunteering for a dental clinic?
I have heard that some people signed the petitions. Some students did sign it, but I don't know if it's implemented yet or not. But I think it's different
Okay.
for different states. I think in some states it will start. I have heard that rumors, but I don't know for
Mhm.
sure about that.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay.
Prasad. You'll have to find out your state's regulation because it'll be different in different places. And I don't think that is implemented yet. That was the last updates that we saw from the dentist in the US. So it was still in the works, but it's almost like it's on the fence, but it's almost there. So you have to keep an eye out. And I think following students or dentists who have just passed out, right? If you follow
Mhm.
them on Instagram, you might, like, be privy to this information and updates.
Okay.
Uh, if you do follow some of them, they've been putting up these updates on there.
Okay.
And I
Thank
think
you
you
so much.
can search for
Sure.
Florida. I think the only state that you can
Yes.
work is Florida. You have to give 3 exams. I don't know about the visa requirement though, but you can look for it.
Yeah, because right now I'm in Florida and I'm doing my MPH too. So I was wondering if I can do it on any summer break or some kind of whenever I get some time.
Well, Florida you can, but that's you have to also you have to go for a course for that and then get the license. Uh, in
But I
Florida,
think
they do
Florida
have that
is just
option.
three exam. I think just the 3 exams. One was the practical and two was multiple choice, and then I think
And
you
then you get the
get
license,
paper.
is it?
Yeah, but I don't
That
know if
option
it's
is
the
there,
green card.
yes.
I don't know about if it's for green card people and citizen people or for student visa. I have no idea about that. So maybe
Okay.
search it up.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. And there's Dr. Parishi, who is texting on chat as well, Prasad, about how Massachusetts allows international dentists who have 5 years of work experience in your home country or in the US to work as a hygienist. And Florida has also had this from the beginning, or at least from before. So these are two states that have passed it, and the others have not. Thanks, Parishi. Um, what was in the works? Yes, awesome. Thank you. And moving on, Vishwa, we would love to hear, and a lot of questions have come about this in the form as well, about your interview processes, your experience with different schools' interviews, wherever you got called.
So I got called for NSU, Oklahoma, and UOP. And I attended two of the interviews. I attended UOP and NSU. Both of them was just general conversational interviews. So they just ask whatever you have written about SOP and also what are you doing in your life and just basic things. And it was my first interview at NSU, so I opted for Caapid Simplified interview for the NSU college, and you guys did really help me. I still remember I was so nervous because it was my first one. But yeah, so I think if you're not sure, if you're not confident enough, you can opt for a service. And but these two colleges only had general questions. But I think
Yeah,
some other
you got
colleges
the
do
two
had every kind.
conversational
Yeah,
schools.
yeah,
Yeah,
two
that's
conversational schools.
nice.
Yes.
Yeah. The kind of questions they asked you, were they like, if it's okay for you to elaborate on that, was it about your personal journey?
Yeah.
What would they have to be prepared if they hear from UOP or NSU?
I think just see look at your statement of purpose in CV first, and also just basic questions like what were your strengths, what were your weakness. If you have a gap year, make sure that you explain them, then why did you have a gap year. And just tell me about yourself and what are your long term goals. These were the questions that were asked to me. Not any specific like dental related question was asked to me, none of that. Just the basic one, that what do you want to do after 10 years, what are your long term goals, and that's it. Yeah. And for NSU, it was 10% interview and 90% was bench test. So the NSU one was completed in like 10-15 minutes. But for UOP, it was just interview. So it took time, around 25 to 30 minutes. But that was also very conversational, very general questions.
NSU, so was it a 1 day event for you? If you can like brief everyone the
Uh,
bench and
hmm.
interview, or was it multiple?
It was 2 day interview process. And the first day, we just look around and see the college and stuff, and they just introduce the college, what program it is, the financial aid and stuff. And after that, we did practice on the specific area, the specific model in the sim lab. We had a chance to practice there for 2 hours. And first day we had interview, and the second day, the next day, we had the bench test.
Bench.
Hmm.
Okay. Anything that you can tell them about the bench, about the exercises, or even about how Noah, like it felt to walk in and do I mean, not the interview, the bench, and How was it set up? Again, what would they have to expect if they ever get a call from Nourah?
So for bench test, I started preparing after I was done with all the applications. I just did basic class two, so just to see how my hand skill are just at that moment, because I didn't touch the air rotor since like 1 year. So I just started. I just bought two or three things off the eBay and also from my senior, and I just did it in the clinic that I used to work with the doctor. So she let me use her stuff, and after that I got the bench home setup, and I watched Dr. Stevenson's videos. That helped me a lot. For bench test, we had class 2 on 19 and full gold crown in 30. So
Awesome.
these two
Thank you
was,
so much.
yeah.
I think that'll be helpful for them to prep as well. And I mean, while these exercises could change every year, but still it's like nice to know what to prepare from.
But
And practice is important,
mostly
right? Yeah.
crowns and class twos are the basic ones that you need to
Yes.
be prepared.
Yes.
So after you're done with the
Class two
application,
is
just start,
common.
because practice
Yeah.
is the key. Because I know it was very difficult for me, but just practice, practice, practice in many teeth. That's it.
For sure. And a lot of people talk about how they go for Stevenson's or Duggins and then coming back, which is really helpful. And but once they come back, if they do not practice
Practice, yeah.
on a in a clinic or on a home bench setup, then you tend to forget the nuances. And the nuances are what you need, because when you're going for the bench, eventually there'll be so many of y'all, and every little bit of those minor points will help you to finally get through to the other side. So that is there. All right. So you've spoken about the interview and the bench. I think that gives us a holistic understanding of how these things are done. And did you, how long, like how early in the year did you start prepping for bench? I know it's a subjective question, but it's a very common question that people ask. Do I start prepping now? What do you think about that? By when should they start practicing?
I started around mid of the May for practicing, but I didn't practice full-fledged at the start. I practice every day after I got the interview invite, but just do one or two in once a week. I mean, one or two preps in a week is okay, just to start and just brief up your. I think Dr. Stevenson's videos are very good, because they tell you like basic steps. But if you're not confident with your hand skills, you can always opt for their actual course. But it was very pricey for me that time, so I didn't go with any course. I just look at the videos and just practice. And also you can get critics from the bench test group that we have on WhatsApp and Telegram. I used to click pictures and send them to get their feedback. That what they help a lot. That's a lot too.
I was just typing it out as you spoke. And while I do that, Dr. Nisha, you have a question?
Yes, Dr. Vishwa, you mentioned that while in the interview, the short interview that you mentioned, they talk about like your SOP and they ask you like the kind of person, like tell us about yourself. So you said you basically talk about your SOP and CV. So that CV part, do they expect you to elaborate on your CV, or you can generally you can generally just steer the conversation in that direction? Like, what do you suggest? What do you think they expect of you, and what was your answer?
So for the SOP and CV questions, they'll ask you to elaborate a certain experience that you have written. So in my case, they asked me that what is this particular. I did a job as a patient care navigator too, for as a part time. So that was a non-dental work experience that I wrote. So they asked me about, just elaborate what was your the patient care navigator job. So I just elaborated whatever my job was, and also they asked me about a volunteering experience too, about just sharing that experience about with, if you have any relevant experience with a patient. And that they won't ask you to say what is your SOP or what is your CV. They'll ask you a particular question if they have any any questions regarding it.
All right, that really helps because like I've always heard that, like whenever you're talking about in an interview, when you're talking about when they ask you this question, like tell us something about yourself. So like most of the people that I have been taking guidance from, they always say that you're not supposed to talk about your CV because that's what they already have, like but so like but this makes sense. Like they've been asking questions from your
They
CV.
will ask
They
you a
ask,
question. Yeah. Mm,
yes, yes,
mm.
that helps. That helps. Thank you, Dr. Vishwa.
You're welcome.
Just something to add on there, Anisha. When they say or when we say, do not talk about your CV in in your tell me about yourself answer. It does not mean you don't talk about your experience at all. It means do not narrate your CV is what it means. Like, do not go, hi, I'm Flynn. In 2024, I graduated, and then, right after that, I joined a clinic in my home country, and then I worked there for 1 month, and then I got my visa, and then I came to US, and that is like you're narrating the entire thing. But while you say, if you say, I'm Flynn, I come from India, I am a recent graduate, so I'm still learning a lot, but I also feel quite fresh because I have everything right in my head here. And while experience in my home country was important, I really wanted to come out and learn more, which is why I just spent 1 year there and then came off to the US. So see, I'm saying the same thing, but there's a little bit more because it shows that I'm curious or I'm recent and I'm eager to learn. There's a little bit more of undercurrent there, which is what they want to hear. Because if you hear someone narrating your CV, you get bored. But the moment you add a bit of flavor and personal touch and your story to it, that's when then they'll go on to ask questions about you. So you sort of have to steer your interview in a way that you keep them interested because you're talking to some 40 people, let's say minimum. So you want them to remember you. So that should be that's what everyone means when they say do not talk about you, like talk your CV. You can talk about your CV, but like a personal statement.
You can
Hmm.
also add what your hobby is beside
Yes,
the
precisely.
dental and academic. What your hobbies? Do you like dance or anything? Mm.
This is like a
Absolutely. Talk
really
about
fresh
light-hearted things.
perspective.
Hmm.
This helps,
Yes.
yeah. This is like a very fresh. This is the first time that I'm hearing, like this is the way like you're not supposed to narrate it, but you're supposed to. Yeah, that helps. Thank you, Miss
Yes.
Lynn and Dr.
Yes,
Vishwa.
absolutely. Awesome. Dr. Navjot is asking, a cycle starts in March. If application is not ready, how early or late should we apply? When did you apply, Vishwa? In
Uh,
your cycle?
I applied by the end of March. So I think
Early applicant.
up to first week of April, it is considered as an early application. But if you are not ready with anything, just don't apply it straight away. I think a good application is better than early application.
Yes, 100%. I love that. I love that you said that because that is extremely important. An early application is important, yes, but not at the cost of a compromised application. If you cannot, for any reason, for any practical reasons, cannot be ready by March and April, it's okay. Take your time, but just try to be early. So your priority is a good quality application. That is something we cannot stress on enough. Do not rush your application. It's not worth it. It's not worth your money if you rush through your statement. I've seen people who write their statement in 2 days because they're late. No, I don't think anyone should write their statement in 2 days. You write it, then you sit over it, you at least look through it once and then finalize it. Do not complete any of your documents in like 1 day, 2 day and rush it. Like she rightly said, quality over quantity or time or punctuality, let's say in this case. Dr. Krupa asks, do they ask questions about leadership during interviews? They do. But Vishwa, did you have any questions like in your experience about leadership?
Yeah, they did ask me about leadership, but they asked me beside the dental field. Did you have any leadership opportunities? So
Got it.
I was into like competitive dancing. So back when I was in high school, I used to lead a junior batch of mine. So I just told that experience in my leadership. So just be prepared for all dental as well as non-dental questions too.
Absolutely. And I think another takeaway here can also be that you see how she chose to talk about an experience which is not dental when she was asked about leadership. So it's okay to even talk about, such experiences from the past. In your interviews, the only important thing is to speak with conviction. Like you should be able to talk, narrate that story, and make something very maybe small in their eyes, but make it sound like it's a very impactful and insignificant thing for you. And that's where, so a little bit of narration or storytelling or speak conversation skills do come in handy for your interview. And like Ben, you all should prep for that as well. If you do not want to get support, that's absolutely fine. Prep on your own. But just sitting in, we were actually MS and I all, and how that interview was an eye-opening experience for him. He realized that walking into an interview without preparation is not something he should have done. And when I say preparation, I mean just sitting down with yourself, and your story itself is preparation. It need not be like a full-fledged thing. So, and then he was talking, so he realized that the next time he goes for an interview, he should prepare and go, because whatever simple questions they ask you, like tell us something that is not on your CV or statement, itself could sort of throw you off the tracks if you're not prepared, right? So that is something that, how guests, when we were kids, guests come to our house, and then our parents ask you, like, introduce yourself, tell about you, and then, or they ask you something witty, I mean, some smart question, and then you answer, and then you go back to your room, and then you think about it and think, no, I should have maybe told them, that I should have maybe told them this, I should have maybe, could have presented myself better as a child. Now that's precisely what will happen to you here. Whenever we say something unprepared, we go back and maybe sit on the toilet and think that we could have done something better. So prep yourself a bit for that. Dr. Shreya asks, how do you know which universities to apply, and how many to apply? Is there any limit? There is no limit. Vishwa, could you tell us about how you chose those 15 schools or 20 schools that you applied to? What was your
Uh,
process?
I just went through the website and I just look for what are the requirements. Some colleges do require 2 or 3 years of experience in the US country, so I just eliminated those university. I think Michigan and one or two other university did mention that they will prefer those who have at least 4 or 5 years of experience in the dental field, and I was a recent graduate, so I didn't want to risk applying there and not getting it. So I eliminated those universities. And yeah, so also if you have a lower TOEFL score, you can see that some colleges do have like 94 as a requirement, 95 as a requirement, 100 as a requirement. So you can always make a table and just take whatever it is your requirement. If it's in your like state, some people do have like family, and so moving into a different state, it's not beneficial for them, it's not convenient for them, so they just eliminate that. So just make your own like table and just take whatever is your preference, which colleges do you prefer, by just looking at their website. They have
Yes,
everything mentioned,
absolutely.
what they need, what they require, what they prefer.
Yes, weeding out schools, like she said, that is, I think, more important than like find out things that don't work for you and then delete that school instead of going like the other way around. So once you, and also like lighthearted things which are not really lighthearted but important, like the location, moving in. But when you're applying now, you'll probably not think about it because you'll think wherever I get, I'll go. But if you get an invitation to like the gloomy, cold Minnesota, you should be able to go there and stay for two
Hmm.
years. So that is
And also
important,
regarding
yes.
uh, the preference to the people who have 2 3 years of experience, it was not mandatory, but I didn't want to risk because I was a fresh graduate. I was anyway very stressed that colleges doesn't give preference to fresh graduate, which is
Yes.
completely wrong. Both of my interviewers told me that they will choose fresh graduate because everything is fresh in their memory.
Yeah.
So just apply to as many schools as possible if you are not on a financial budget. But yeah, the
Yes.
more schools
Precisely.
you will apply, the more invitation you will get, the more chances of the acceptance is there.
100%. Yeah, don't go by preferences as much unless you have to, because you have a budget constraint, like she said. Because we have seen a lot of bizarre combinations get in, unexpected admits. So, what if that's your 1% probability, right? So, always good to try. Dr. Aditya, I think you had raised your hands earlier, your virtual hand. Do you still want to ask the question?
Oh yes, it was just in regards to the question that she just answered. That when you
Okay.
decide the university, right, you look at multiple things. Certain universities have 2-year program, 3-year program. So since like it seems that you've researched it extensively, right? So what did you find were the main differences among them? Like, is it more integrated? Like more, they need more studies, more exams, or whatever, in that aspect that it's more intensive, whether it be studies or clinical work. So how you can help with that? And how do you distinguish those two?
I think regarding 3 year and 2 year, many have that thing in mind that they are already, like in their 35, 36, so they don't want to apply in a 3 year program. I don't think that, because there is always a chance that if you are not getting in 2 year program, you can get in 3 year program. So why wasting a whole cycle? And at the end of the day, you are already wasting one whole year. So just apply in the 3 year program too. I think UCSF and NSU, these two are the ones that have 3 year program, and they prefer fresh graduates, because my school also said that as it is a 3 year program, they will get 3 or 4 fresh graduates too. They will take it because they want them to practice more. And just, yeah, so just don't not apply. Don't think about that, what if I don't want to do the 3 year program, because if anyways you don't get in any other colleges, 3 year would have been better for you, because you won't have to waste 1 year applying in the next cycle too.
Yeah, thank you for that. And along with that, for as you said previously, that you wrote everything about the statement of purpose and the essays. So I suppose you talked with Flynn, so you use Caapid Simplified for that. Along with that, which other resources would you say helped you a lot in that?
I wrote down my SOP and CV myself, but I took the review services with them, because I was not sure. Because the one thing that I did, I sent my SOP to many people, and everybody told me some different things, that I think this should be different, I think this should be different. So I was so confused at the end of the day. So I thought that opting for a service that just give you an idea, that is it proper, is it flowing, because some people told me that the story is not flowing, some people told me that you could have written a better experience. So I was very confused. So at that point, I opted for the Caapid Simplified review services. I gave my SOP and I gave my CV for review, and they did give me certain points that could have been changed, or is it better to add, and everything.
Thank you.
You can also try peer review, Aditya, if you want to, like not get a service. And but the only thing is, whenever, even if you're choosing, like say Capital Simplified or a service, or people that just choose them wisely, because it will otherwise be confusing for you.
Hmm.
So, or choose them in a limited manner, like
In a
choose 2 or 3
five,
people.
five, six, 5 people is, I think, maximum
Yeah,
people that you can
that's the
send.
only thing. Yeah,
Yeah,
otherwise, you will get a lot of opinions. So that's the only thing to remember. Wherever you
that's
get a good
exactly what I
source.
thought. Like, if you keep asking a lot of people, you're gonna get a ton of different answers from them and ton of different
Yes.
suggestions.
And you should also be in a space to accept them. Like every way, in everything, it's not, nothing is objective here. Everything's subjective. So some people are more welcoming to these suggestions, and in their mind, they can, they can use it discretion to decide whether to take this or not take that. But some of y'all might just get influenced by everything they hear, and then that gives you anxiety. So it's also important to learn your like psyche and then get feedback accordingly. All these small things will help you to have a lesser stressful time during the application. All right. Um, Dr. Jasmine, do they prefer US shadowing volunteering experience over any other country? Yes, Jasmine, that is a given. They prefer that any day. If you have any North American experience, even Canadian for that matter, that is their preference. But that being said, if you cannot go to the US or Canada, then do it where you are, wherever, whichever country you're in, do there. And then, so don't stop thinking that this is not the US, so this will not help me. No, a gap is more problematic than than you having US or Canadian experience. Dr. Madiha, and then we can go to Dr. Anisha. And I think by then we can wrap this up. Yes, Dr.
Hi,
Madiha,
Dr.
I'm not sure
Visva.
if I'm
Can you
pronouncing
hear me?
your
Hello.
name. Yes, you're audible.
Mhm. Yeah, I have two questions. One being, what is your advice right now? What should we be doing right now for the upcoming cycle? Like, what should we have already collected by now, or what should we start working on for the upcoming cycle? And the other question was, what do you suggest, like the dentist that you were working with, what did you suggest them to write in the letter of recommendation for? So what were, I mean, these are two questions that I have. Um,
For the dentist, for the letter of recommendation, I asked her to just mention about my soft skill as well as my clinical skill. That's it. That's the only thing that I asked her, that to mention about my soft skill and my hand skill. And for the first one, I think a letter of recommendation and a good TOEFL score, I mean above 101. I think you should be ready by now, and you still have, I think, 2 months. I think it starts in first week. So I think we can work on statement of purpose and CV in this 2 months. It is doable. But just a competitive TOEFL score, I think above 100 or above 100 and 102, 103. I think it is very competitive above 102 or 103.
100. Yeah, three-digit score is to
Mm,
begin with good enough.
yeah.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you, Madiha. Thank you for also showing your face. It's nice to engage with all of you just beyond the like voices. Dr. Anisha, you can unmute and ask your question.
Thank you, Flynn. So, Dr. Vishwa, did you tour any of the schools before, like applying to them? And if you did, like, how does that help? Like, does that help in any way?
I didn't do the like in-person touring. I didn't do that. I did do the virtual touring that is available on their website.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just to see how the college is, how the area is. I think that's the one in the virtual one. But if you go in person, I think you can talk to the people there and just
Yeah.
see the environment, the actual environment in person. If it's viable to you, if it's in your area or if it's in your state, you can always see. I was in Georgia, so there was no college in whole of the Georgia, so I didn't go anywhere in person, but I did do the virtual thing.
No, I mean, like, do you have any idea? Like, does it help? Like, if you, like, tour a school in person, like the networking part, like, does that work out? Like, is that something somebody, if they can, they should do, or, like something
I don't. I
you have?
have no idea regarding that. Do you have any idea, Miss Flynn?
You're
Or
talking about my internet connection was unstable in between. You're talking about observing in a school, is it?
No, no, no.
Can you
What I'm
repeat that, Anisha?
touring a
Huh.
school, like visiting a school and just seeing around, looking around the campus. Like, is there any networking happening there? Like, if you can, like, is this something you should be like, you should have on the list if you can?
I think it's good to go. I mean, see, it's not something you should go above and beyond to maybe invest like a flight ticket money and all of that and go. Maybe like not that useful. But if you have a school in the locale or you can easily go, I think it's good to go because it'll be nice to see there. Even if you just see the admission rep's face or see someone's face, they'll again remember you. But that being said, I do think you'll have to email them and ask them. That's what people mostly do because not all schools are open to touring the tours, and some of them like Colorado and all, they have a fixed day, like they'll invite students to come and tour as well. So that might be a more like professional or like a best practice route to take, to email them and ask them whether I'm in the vicinity or I'm around and I'm interested in applying to your school, looking forward to really like seeing what's happening, and then sort of go in if they say yes. So I think reaching out to them would be good before you do it, but yes, it's something that you could do. It's not, it will not look great on your it's not substantial enough to look good on your CV because it's a very minor thing, but you can seep that into your statement, like talk about how you did these things because you were curious, right? Or you seep that into your supplemental answers, like when I think UPenn or UCSF asks how did you prepare yourself to practice or study in the US. So these are these smaller things that you can talk about and bring it to their attention as opposed to just writing them in a CV.
So
right?
what I really meant was like is that the part where you mentioned that when you see their face, so they remember you. So that's what my main concern was,
Yes,
like that
that is
happens.
that is one way of doing it. I mean, we can never know it will happen, but it's definitely always a good thing to show your face. Even
Right,
in the
right.
interview when you go, right? Like a lot of times when you go for your interview or bench, you remember that they're all observing you, right? And this is not even about the US dental admissions. Even if, like I keep saying this, even if you're hiring for your own company or your clinic, when there are like 10 people coming to a mixer and you have to make the decision to like call two people, you're definitely observing all of them, like their mannerisms. How are they talking to your peers? Are they being kind? Are they being eager? Are they being too over the top? So in the same way, be granted, they are also observing you. So whenever you go, make a good impression, make a, like, make them remember you, and that will definitely help. Then they read your application later, they might just think, I've heard this name or I've heard this story. So you basically plant whatever seeds you can to help yourself in the future,
Well,
but
that
be
makes
careful and
sense.
not do a lot of it. That's also there. It's all about a
Okay.
balance.
Okay.
All
Thank you.
right.
Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Yes. Hi, Abdul. Nice to see you here, Dr. Abdul Sattar. You can unmute and ask Vishwa a question.
Hi, Flynn, and hi, Vishwa.
Hello.
Congratulations for your acceptance at Nourah.
Thank
And
you.
my question was to Flynn. I wanted to ask if
Okay.
suppose I am enrolled in a preceptorship program or any master's program, so can I apply to for DDS during this period, or do I have to complete my course and then only I have to apply for DDS? And my second question was, if suppose I apply during my preceptorship and if I get an acceptance, so will I be able to discontinue my preceptorship and join the school?
Yes. So the first answer to the first question is you can apply to DDS or DMD while you are at a preceptorship program. But Modi, the important thing to remember there is whether you'll be done with this program by the time you matriculate into your DDS DMD program, which mostly you will, because even if you go for that like 9 month preceptorship at UCLA, by the time you're applying and then you finish, you get your results, you will be done with UCLA. But I think there are also some preceptorships that are 1 year long. The timing is what you should look at. If you're applying for 25, by the
Yeah.
time you start 26 January, by then you should be done with the preceptorship course. So in the CV also, you can give it as a current program, or like it's going 2025 to 26 will be done. So make make sure they know that your timeline is this and it will be done by then. It is just a bridge course for you. The second
Okay.
question about leaving preceptorship, yes, you can leave preceptorship courses. Things like whether you will get your money back and all of that, it depends. Needs school, you will not get your deposit back. So all those things are school specific, but it's not something that I would recommend you do if you can help it, because leaving programs are always a risky thing for the applicants to do. Schools can also not take it really well, like, because it's not really a completely professional thing to do. But that being said, I'm not saying don't do it. That's an option. Only option you have. You can go ahead and do it. Sometimes people even leave because like emergencies or because they can't be. So you don't really tell them that program, but if you can help it, try to not drop out, because it'll be nice if you can complete these things. But if that's your only option, it doesn't directly affect you anyway. Let's say that, right? It's more of a peripheral. Uh, uh, in your opinion that way. Yeah.
Mhm. So, one follow question. But the school,
Yes.
if suppose I interview during my preceptorship program, and if the school feels no, this person is still doing a course, so will they deny my acceptance? Is there anything like that, or they will consider it like it is okay, like he will finish their preceptorship, or if by any chance I'm not going to finish my preceptorship by the end of by the start of the matriculation, so are they going to deny the acceptance for that?
Yeah, if you're not going to finish your course by matriculation, I personally would not recommend you tell the school. Then don't tell the school.
Oh, Okay, okay.
Or yeah, because this is again, it's not a rule. I'm not saying this as a, it's not a rule on the page that you cannot apply. It's not like that, but it's an unspoken thing where they see they have so many people waiting, right?
Mhm.
They need to be sure that you will choose them if you get the seat. They will never want to like waste, I'm going to use the word waste, a seat on someone
Yes.
who's not fully here, who's got their legs in both words. So that is
Mhm.
something I would definitely not, I would keep from them if you're doing it. Or
Mhm.
maybe tell them there is a shorter program or something like that, but definitely do not tell them that you will not matriculate.
Okay.
Yeah, it will not work in your favor. And
Thank you
considering that
so
this
much.
entire thing is a gamble,
Yeah.
you want to know, like try and save your chances.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Abdul. Have a nice night. Dr.
Thank you.
Prasad, I think with your question, we can that'll be the last question we take. We can unmute it, Prasad, and that we can wrap it.
Thank you. Uh, as Dr. Vishwa, as you are already a dental student in USA University, so I wanted to ask that is there any financial aid, or if not, do they have any research assistant position like on campus jobs and all for dentists?
Regarding the financial aid, I think if you have a green card or citizenship, you can apply for the federal loan. And besides that, you can apply to private loan. I have no idea about the private loan. I have an idea about the federal one because I just applied that. But for the private one, I think they have 12 to 13% of interest in I think private banks and private institution that they help. So you can ask the, I think any student visa or visitor visa who have had an acceptance for the private loan. I can help you with the federal one. And what was the next question?
The other one was, do they have any research assistant positions or like any on-campus jobs?
Yeah, I think they do have certain positions, like you said. I think TA and the other jobs, but I don't think you would have a time once you get in the dental school to do jobs. So I think the only thing that you can do for financial is just apply for loan, either private or federal. I
Okay,
don't think you will have time once you get in the dental school.
sure. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Prasad, for the question. I'm just wrapping up this one last question that's on our chat by Dr. Krupa. Do you think applying directly after my master's will be better, or getting 1 year of full-time dental research experience will make a difference? I mean, that is subjective, but if you're applying for DDS, DMD, you need not necessarily spend an entire year for research or dental experience. And especially if you have something that you did after your BDS. But if you did your BDS and then directly went for MDS, spending a year and doing something, anything, research, dental, like practice experience in your home country, shadowing in the US, Canada, all of that, I think would be helpful. Anyway, you have to apply, like do IMBD, do TOEFL, and all of that, right? Spending a year will work. And if you're applying for residency through PASS, then definitely do not. I wouldn't personally recommend you apply right after MDS in India or in your home country, because it will make a lot of difference if you have some research. For PASS, research is more important than for CAPIT, and have some experience, because again there in past you're like competing with traditional dentists, with everyone. So your pool is even more diverse and wide, and they have visa benefits, and they have, if they have a DDS or DMD, then they have the benefit as well. So that is a little bit of, oh, I answered the right opposite. Masters of, okay, MPH. Okay, if you did MPH, then you can apply directly as well, Krupa. I think, but even then, while applying, see, at least a few months of shadowing or something in dentistry will be helpful for you. So you can think of it like, for example, if you've done with your MPH and you're applying like in March or April, then at least for these 5 months or 4 months, get into shadowing, into something dental, into clinical, and then write that into your CV. So I wouldn't say you have to spend a year. Some, like most people don't, but know that if you have, the more experience you have in dental to supplement your MPH degree, the better for you. So your chances will increase. So then that's a decision you have to take, whether you have the luxury of waiting out for 1 year, right? And then preparing a more wholesome application, or do you have to go right away? All right. Okay, I hope that helps. Thank you so much. I love that so many of you all unmute spoke, and also like showed your videos. I think that is what is really nice about these sessions. Vishwa, thank you so much for doing this, sparing your time and
The
for passing
opportunity.
on. Yes, of course. It was our pleasure, and I'm really sure that all of them, understood a lot of things now. Especially when they hear it from all of you all, is when they learn the best, because you've been there, done that. Any closing words for them, because they're all people applying this year or next year, and on the other side where you were like some time back, the struggle, the happiness. So, any closing words for them?
It is, as I said, it is mentally tiring. So all you can do is just patience. Just have patience. That's it. I know, yeah. Just have patience and just do work consistently. That's it.
Yes, absolutely. Consistency is key. And sticking to that consistency, we have a webinar next week as well. So there's any of you all. And the person who asked about MPH, next webinar is Dr. Utsavi has done an MPH in the US. So, if you can join in, you can ask questions. So tune in, let your friends know if this helped you, for them to come and ask questions. And thank you, Vishwa. Talk to you soon, and have a good night, everyone, or morning, wherever you are. And see you all soon.
Thank
Reach
you.
out to us if you need something. Bye.
Bye bye.
Dr. Vishwa, there's Prasad is asking how she's left. Is it? I can ask her and get back to you, Prasad. Maybe an email ID, or something like that. I can ask her. I have your contact information, so I can get that to you. Okay.